Hi guys, I hope all is well. Chamion here from Food by Chamion. I am going to make a coconut bake, or a coconut bake, not a. This is the way I make my coconut bake. For that, you will need 4 cups of all-purpose flour. You will need what is called half brick of any butter over here in Trinidad, or 4 ounces, right? You will need 1 packet of yeast, which is equivalent to 1 tablespoon. Remember, I always say that active dry yeast. I am proofing the yeast because keep in mind, time and time again, I spoke about yeast needing proper temperature water to activate. So because I'm using coconut, ground coconut, as it is known here in the Caribbean or Trinidad, I took it out the husk and all of that, and I put it with some water into my blender, right? It won't be warm, so I had to proof the yeast, because if I just use this coconut, we don't have coconut milk over here, we don't, and I don't think it's really advisable unless you are cooking with it. So you all know I like to explain in depth. So for that purpose, I had to proof my yeast with some sugar. I would say 8 tablespoons of sugar in some water, right? You don't need much, probably do about quarter cup, of water. Right, so remember, I called out all the ingredients so far, and I'm going to start now. I want to get straight into things. This is my sifter. A lot of you know it, right? It makes life easier. It also have measurements on it. It causes things to go by very quickly. If you don't have a sifter, just use your traditional sieve, or what we know here in Trinidad and Tobago as a strainer, right? This is the way I always make my coconut bake. Proofing the yeast. If you might want to know, Chamion, what's proofing? It's just setting the yeast. Just a fancy name in the culinary world to set your yeast, to activate your yeast, right? Be it with liquids, because not all the time yeast proof with water. It can be proof with milk and so forth, okay? It depends on the recipe. So I'm finished sifting my flour. You always want to use freshest ingredients for best results, right? You notice I have no lumps, but you just don't want to chance it, so you always want to do that. Now I'm going to incorporate my butter. Remember, I called out how much butter it was, right? It's not frozen butter, it's not pastry, but you still want your butter chilled. I'm just going to use my dough blender. If you don't have one of this tool, use a fork. Right? It's just as simple as you using a fork. You don't want to fuss with things like these. It would be nice to invest in your tools, yes, but if you don't have it, listen, you just use your simple traditional fork that you eat with to get the butter incorporated, okay? You all know I like to be real with you all, and it's a great reason and purpose. So you want to incorporate your butter into your flour, right? For some persons in Trinidad, this is something we grew up having. They will say that they never used to proof the yeast and all of that. Remember, we all do things differently. And like I said before in a previous demo, when I come on YouTube, I am teaching in a not so formal settings. I'm not in a classroom, but I am teaching because persons learn from me. So I can't just, I don't want them to have bad results, and when we know better, we do better. If we are realistic, back in the day, we never measured anything before we cooked. Really, we didn't. We just went by, averaging. That's all we did. We averaged a lot of our ingredients before we cooked back in the day. But because I'm doing this, I always have to have measurements for you all. Right? I always tell you all that when we, if you can't get the ground coconut, if you live in certain parts of the world and you can't get the ground coconut, you can use coconut milk. You will get it readily available in your supermarket, but it won't have the texture that ours will have because we are living in the husk, right? So I'm going to start now. Remember, the butter is already incorporated. So just let me get in my proof yeast. The foaming is quite okay. Once you are proofing yeast, you have to expect that. I'm just gonna give a pulse. You won't be hearing me when I pulse, when I run the blender, okay? You always start by adding little. You can always add more. Always remember things like that when you are baking or cooking. You don't want to just dump in everything, right? And keep in mind the coconut carries its own natural fats. So you don't just want to go berserk and just dump in everything. You want to take your time, play it very safe, and things like that. Some persons might do it somewhat different. I don't add evaporated milk simply because coconut contains its own milk, and I don't want to have any issues, you know, with evaporated milk and so forth. If you do it that way, well, that's how you do it. I'm just going to add a little bit more flour for dusting before I leave it to relax on its own. Room temperature relax until it is double in size, okay? You all hear me say time and time again that a lot of times in the factories, I was going to touch on that earlier, I'm going to speak on it now, that hands don't touch the food because they have so much work to do that it's machine that makes the food. So a lot of times if you watch my demo, you'll realize that I'm not using my hands. I am using either a spatula or a pot spoon, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Most of the time, the only time my hand will touch my food, my doughs and so forth is when I am about to roll it out or get it into its form before baking, right? So remember, you don't want to overdo it with the butter. You want to stay on the measurement I use because your coconut milk carries its own fats, healthy fats and oils. There's a lot of amazing benefits to coconut milk, like a lot tons, and its oil. A lot of persons that are vegan and so forth, they will use the almond milk and the coconut milk instead of milk from animals, be it goat or cow's milk, or you know. Right? So it's just as simple as that. You don't want your dough too stiff when you are mixing anything and you realize your dough is too stiff. I've said before, anytime you have a stiff dough, it's already telling you the general outcome of whatever you are making. Always keep in mind things like that, right? You want to dust it enough, but you don't want a stiff dough. I'm just going to get in my hand. It's very soft and nice. Very, very soft and nice. And this is how I always make my coconut bake. So I'm just going to leave it to relax until it is double in size, like I said, right? I give a tip all the time, which is I use, instead of using any brand of clear wraps to cover my bowls and so forth when I'm baking, I always use a new, what we will call here in Trinidad, a steam cap. In other parts of the world, it will be known as probably a conditioning cap. So I always make sure I have disposable ones and I use a new one every time, okay? Because it just fits over the bowls accurately. So you're going to keep watching as I bring it together for you all. So guys, this is where my coconut bake reached to. Remember when I started where it was, and that's why I say to let it relax until it's about double in size or even triple, right? So I'm getting ready to dust my pastry mat. You don't always dust your surface properly, okay? It might look like a lot, it's not. is not too much. Right? Some persons will punch down their dough. By punch down, I mean put pressure in it with their hand until it goes all the air goes out of it. I won't do that, okay? You see how soft the dough is? The roughness that you are seeing, it is from the coconut pieces itself. That's all it is, and that's a good thing that we are seeing the coconut pieces. Some of you might want to know, well, how much coconut I use. I use one medium-sized coconut, and I use about half of it that was in my blender. That's all I use. But the thing is that you always want to keep your eyes on whichever dough or batter you are making to see what how much more liquids it needs. Remember, you always add slowly. When you form your well, you're holding the middle because you can always add, you cannot take away, right? So that's always a key step that I always speak on and give away. This part of things is really all about you. Some persons don't like their bakes and so forth too thick. I don't like it too thick, but this part is all you, right? Some persons will cut that in two. You can also make minis with it using a cutter, a nice size cutter. You know, it depends on how wide you want it, but you can also, like I say, make minis. So some persons will cut this in two, right? Or some persons will just leave it like it is here because they don't want their bake too thin. So today I am not going to cut it in two. I'm going to leave it like this. You want to make sure your rolling pin have a bit of flour on it. Although my own, it doesn't stay because my rolling pin is stainless steel. Right? Everything has its advantage and disadvantage. But however, my rolling pin, I love it. It works pretty well. Especially for when I'm doing pastry work. It keeps temperature. I put it in the freezer and it keeps temperature because, of course, like I said, it is stainless steel, right? So you don't want to go too thin with this because it's not pizza. You want to keep nice with because you want to be able to cut it open to put fillers in it, fillers of your choice, be it sausages, cheese, you know, whatever. Right? So, you know, you just want to make sure that it's, you know, it's evenly rolled out. That's the key. And you want to make sure you have, it don't need any more rising from this point. Right? I'm going to show you all the technique we use. Usually when you put holes into anything that you are baking, it does double duty really, because it causes whatever you are baking to look fancy, one, and secondly causes steam to escape. Remember that, right? So we just want to use a traditional fork method, which is what we grew up doing when it comes to coconut bake. I don't think you'll ever see any Trinidadian make a coconut bake without doing this, what I'm doing here. And remember, I spoke and said, why just now, right? I said it does double duty. It don't have to be in any particular pattern. Right? So you just want to keep doing like this. Don't forget your edges also. Remember, I said don't roll it out too thin because you want to leave room to be able to put fillers into it, okay? So you want to take that tip. I don't like to speak on time of oven and so forth because that varies by a lot of things. It varies by the age and model of your oven and whether it's gas or electric. You will know how your oven behaves. So what I always say is two things. Don't put anything close to the floor rack of your oven, and don't ever put anything to bake or cook and walk away. Always stay close by and monitor it, right? Because what you are looking for is nice hold on perfection. You don't want it to be too dark or too light, too pale. You want it really, really nice, okay? So that's as simple as it is. But just keep watching for it and keep in mind, like I said before, it's going to be somewhat rough at the top. It's not going to be smooth like bread, right? I am going to bake mine on parchment. If you don't have parchment, use the parchment paper that is on this parchment paper. If you don't have parchment, use the non-stick cooking spray of your choice. So this is my baking sheet line here. And I'm just going to get it on there very neatly and bake it until it's cooked and, you know, have beautiful color. Of course, I'm going to show you all the final product. So just keep watching. So this is the final product of my coconut bake. It's baked just gorgeous. If you want it darker, feel free, right? But this is my desired color. I'm just going to do a zoom in for you guys to see, and I'm just going to press it, right? It looks just gorgeous. Back here in the Caribbean, we usually have this with bulgur. By that I mean like salted fish or smoked herring with tomatoes, sweet pepper, onions, and some parsley, and we put a bit of oil on it, and that's considered a bulgur. Yeah, I have one on my channel. Check it out, smoked herring bulgur. Okay, but this can be served with any filler that you so desire. I just want to show you guys the texture of it, right? That is how soft it is. It just springs back up, right? The color, like I said, is perfection, right? You want it that soft. To keep it soft, a tip if you are baking more than one, simply use cling wrap. Simply use cling wrap to store it in. Okay? When it's hot on the oven, you can butter the top of it if you so desire, as well as you can leave it just like that, right? It's all on you. For maintaining easier slices and so forth, I'm going to just cut it with my pizza wheel. When you are doing bakes and so forth, you always want to start by cutting it first in half, and then you go the other half. You understand that? Yeah. It's very flaky and nice also. Let me just get the bread knife. It's very, very flaky and nice. The texture is just lovely, right? Remember, this is the way I always do my coconut bakes. I didn't do anything different, and this is the results that I always have. Right? So you want to use like a serrated knife when you are dealing with stuff like these, because what happens is that it pulls, right? I'm really trying like to use my pizza cutter, but I'm having a bit of an issue with my pizza cutter. So let me just go in with this knife and see what's going on. But like I said, it's pretty flaky and nice, right? So I'm just going to do about this size piece you want to serve per person, depending on if it's an adult or so, right? You don't want to go, and you want to get nice uniform pieces. That's always the goal when you are serving, unless it's kids, like I said. The smell is just amazing. You all not getting the scent of it, but the smell is amazing, and it's behaving so nice. I can tell you all, if I didn't proof it, I would not have had the same results that I'm having here now. If I did not proof my yeast, because remember the coconut milk I spoke about, it not being able to warm it and all of that. Just one clean slices, so I was having a bit of an issue. It was looking like a bit of an issue, but really it wasn't, right? And you all see how soft and nice it is. And remember, I said for you to maintain this softness, keep it in some cling wrap. Well, I'm saying cling is a brand, right? But you all get the gist of what I'm saying. Use whichever wrap you are comfortable using in your kitchen, okay? So you just want to look at the texture of it. I'm going to show you guys the inside of that beautiful coconut bake. You see what we have? This is what you want to have. And remember, I didn't use a lot of ingredients. You all will remember what I used, right? Which was just yeast, flour, sugar, butter, right? So just remember how easy it was to make this coconut bake. I keep all my recipes very simple for a purpose and a reason. I don't ever want to confuse anyone that's going to follow the way I cook and so forth. So I keep it very, very simple, so you all can grasp what I'm doing and follow through. This is what the underneath of our bake looks like, our coconut bake, right? Guys, the pleasure was my own doing this for you all. So I have this serrated knife, Food by Chamion. It's advisable that you use a bread knife to cut these things, right? Food by Chamion, you all know we are all over social media. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we have the YouTube channel, all under one name, Food by Chamion. If you want to come into direct contact with me, send me an email on email address foodbychamion@gmail.com. Right guys, so until I'm with you all, bye and thanks for watching. Thank you for all your amazing love and support. Bye.